Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Women on the Rise podcast. Today, we are joined by Alice Liang, a first year engineering student at McMaster University, who is actively involved in leadership, social advocacy, and evolving technologies. Welcome to the podcast. Please introduce yourself and share a little bit about your journey in engineering.
Hello. Well, hi, I'm Alice. I'm the first year student at McMaster, and my journey in engineering has started honestly near the end-ish few years of high school. I'm really involved with leadership, social advocacy, and I love getting really involved in the community.
Nice. Okay, without further ado, let's dive right into questions. So, first, why did you become interested in engineering at first? Was there like a certain turning point or event that made you want to pursue this career path?
Really great question. I wasn't interested in engineering. Actually, I was really interested in medicine for a really long time. Back in like grade 10 to 11, I thought like I literally watched Grey's Anatomy and thought, yeah, that's what I want to do for the rest of my life. But that didn't happen. And the reason why is because um, the medical journey was like a really long process, but I realized that engineering was more down my skill sets, and also just like who I am as a person. And I wanted to do something really impactful for society, and also not doing schooling for a really long time.
Mhm.
So I guess that's what put engineering forward for me. I really like math. I really like creating and designing things, and I thought, yeah, engineering is just right down my alley, and I'm really glad. I think I'm on the right pathway for that.
Yeah. How did your time in high school impact your choice of becoming an engineer? So you mentioned before, I don't know if I heard you wrong, but you said something about like not being fully into schooling, but being super interested into math. So could you explain that a little bit?
So, what I meant was like I didn't really want to do something after, like I don't really want to pursue like a master's or like go to med school for a really long time.
Yeah.
And I wanted to do something valuable while I was young. I had a lot of energy and passion. I want to go like straight into the workforce. But in my time in high school, I was surrounded by a lot of high achieving peers and like pretty much everyone or a majority of the people I knew really wanted to go into STEM.
Mhm.
I don't think they necessarily impacted me a lot, but like because I was taking the same courses as those people in high school, they were very smart, very passionate, and I guess that kind of drove me as well. Um, but it was more so the extracurricular part. I don't really think anything like in school actually inspires you to like do careers. I did a co-op in high school and I was doing it at a hospital, and I was in the CT radiation section and they did a lot of biomedical things. And I really like the medical aspect, but I think I got more intrigued by the technology behind it, which was really surprising to me because you don't really like volunteer at a hospital and think like, yeah, I'm gonna look at the tech. But I guess that's what really impacted me. I think it was my high school co-op.
That's really nice. Yeah. Extracurriculars, like honestly, you find your passion mostly through extracurriculars. I find that with like a lot of people that like
Yeah, for sure.
it's never school. School is just the bad part of
Exactly. It's kind of like the technical thing you don't really want to do. It's everything else after that.
Yeah,
Hmm.
exactly. Okay. Now, you're in your first year of university. So,
Hmm.
since you've started, what's the most challenging thing you've been through?
Oh my God. Okay. I think the most challenging thing is being independent. And what I mean by that is I feel like a lot of people tell you like, oh, yeah, no one's gonna tell you what to do in university. It's very self-oriented. And that is so true. Like you don't understand how true it is until you're actually in it. And like the self-driven part is the fact that you don't need to go to lectures. You can skip you can like skip everything.
Mhm.
And no one's gonna tell you off. I think that's what was difficult for me. I don't skip lectures. I just accidentally sleep in sometimes, or I'm not really on top of it as much as I should be because there's like it's not like quote unquote mandatory. So I think that's what was most challenging for me. Um but the community around you, there's still people around to support you. There's just like it's less like direct, and because university is such a big place. There's not like a small classroom where people know when you're not there. It's very much you're accountable for your own actions. So that was what was the most challenging thing for me.
So, given how demanding engineering may be, what methods of time management have you established to prevent burnout?
Okay. So for first semester, I think I really pushed myself a little too much.
Mhm.
Because okay, engineering is the whole thing about being too demanding, but honestly, I don't think it's too bad. They don't give you a lot of work. It's just work that becomes more difficult because it's new things. Usually when you go into university, like the first like 2 or 3 months of school is like high school review, so you're usually fine. But like after that, things keep piling on top. And okay, how I've personally done it, and I've been using like kind of the same methods in high school, but I use something called Notion. Notion is, oh my
Yes.
God. If anyone in Notion is listening to this, please hire me. Um, looking for internships. But yeah, using I guess like the second brain method,
Mhm.
I organize through a calendar. But like on top of that, whenever I have free time, like I'll because I get like going back to the previous thing, because like no one's really watching me. I used to doom scroll a lot. I used to get distracted so easily.
Mhm.
But what I really found to do is to like kind of force myself to be busy. I'd sign up for clubs, I sign up for like industry nights or conferences. I'm literally like trying to implement going to the gym like between classes. Because I found that like before I wasn't really being productive in like any way.
Mhm.
But if I'm doing something like exercising, if I'm doing something like socializing with my upper years, then that kind of like inspires me to do my work. I
Mhm.
know it's kind of intuitive because once you're doing and you're talking and you're moving around, it tires you out. But for me, it doesn't. It kind of powers me forward. And then once you feel like you've had a productive day, like, oh, I went to the gym, I went to a conference. At the end, you're like, wow, I'm on such a good roll. Let me get out my schoolwork and start doing it. So honestly, I think the thing is you gotta kind of busy yourself a little bit more. At
Yeah.
least that's what works for me. I like busying myself because it feels like I'm being productive.
That actually segues perfectly into the next question. What are some,
Mhm.
like communities, clubs, mentors, or resources that you have found useful during your first year? So we already know Notion is a big one. What other communities, clubs, you were talking about conferences, mentors,
Mhm.
resources do you use and you found helpful throughout this year?
Yeah, so at least for McMaster, their club and their community is so awesome. They give you so many different resources. So I guess some examples is I'm part of our student union
Mhm.
and I'm just on the first year council. You can kind of imagine it like a student council, but for in university it's a lot bigger. It's kind of treated as its own entity, like apart from the university. So that's one thing I've been involved with. I've just been part of the event planning process, but like within they call it MSU, they do a lot of advocacy. But regarding like engineering specifically, usually each school has like a society, like for each like a faculty.
Yeah.
And the engineering society, they put out a lot of opportunities. And the key part is to just sign up whenever you see it. Like for me, I've gone to a conference in Western and next month I'm going to Guelph for another one.
Wow.
It's all like related to engineering, which is really cool. And they're all mostly free. For some of the conferences you have to pay, which is fine. Like you win some, you lose some, but like it's really worth it because though when you connect to upper years, they can connect you to so many different things. Like if you sign up for example, okay, when I went to the CDE, the conference in Western, I met a lot of really cool upper years, and one of them literally like helped me with housing.
Oh my
Um,
God.
literally helped, yes, and I literally signed a lease like with them. Like even unrelated to school, talking to people like at all and getting resources from them is a really, really important tool.
Wow.
And
Yeah.
yeah, just like don't be afraid to bother people when you do things too.
Okay. Great. Okay. Which abilities? So I did a little LinkedIn stock.
Yes,
Sorry, but I have to. It's part of my job. But
that's so valid.
which abilities from your previous job, your previous volunteering experiences have benefited you in university and you think will benefit you even further into university, maybe even in when you enter the workforce?
I think a lot of it. has to do with stuff like unrelated to STEM because building your soft skills is so important. School already teaches you a lot of technical things. They teach you, well, for first year, they teach you how to code, they teach you how to CAD, they teach you how to write reports. And now we're learning something called materials, which is like completely new. Like you learn about like porosity and all that. But like I guess like some stuff you need to build, or at least if you're looking like for engineering specifically, I joined engineering related clubs. However, the role I was in was like more so, I guess, logistics or more so like building like event planning and doing stuff that's like not technically technical. Because I think that's really important. I'll put out an example for this hackathon called Delta Hacks at McMaster. I'm a logistics executive. It's a very small role, but like through that, I've learned a lot, not just about like, oh, like university event planning, but there's stuff like budgeting, there's stuff like what it means to like reach out to a really large group of people. And then once you're like running the event, like during the hackathon, um, a lot of a lot of the VPs and the presidents, they do a lot of like technical work, and it's like that time is a really good opportunity for you to learn about what other people have done. And because the club itself, like Delta Hacks, it's like a hackathon. People there are going to be interested in competing in tech. They can introduce you to a lot of new skills. They can open up a lot of new gateways, resources. I started learning HTML just on my own because like a couple of the upper years have started like building their own websites. I've LinkedIn stalked them. And I was like, I love what you're doing. Can you show me more? Um, so I think building connections like that is really important. Other thing is, I guess, okay, I don't have any jobs in university, but in high school, I was like a swim instructor and I was like working as a cashier. And I think like truly that has helped me build my people skills because when you're in customer service, you see it all.
Okay. Now, since you've started your degree, how has your understanding of your field evolved?
Okay. Um, my understanding of the field evolved. The technical aspect, not much of it was evolved because I kind of expected it. Like you learn a lot of physics, you learn a lot of math, you learn chemistry, and obviously you learn things like coding and like 3D modeling and all that. Um, in regards to like the field itself, it's I think they open a lot of gateways to things you wouldn't expect. Um, for example, there's like a lot of different streams of engineering, and you don't realize that a lot of them are really overlapping because I don't know about you, but like when I was in high school, I was under the impression that like, oh, mechanical engineers, they only work in like auto shops or like I don't know, building machinery.
Yeah.
But like that's not true. A lot of the engineerings are like overlapping to a lot of different things. There's things like materials, a lot of like steel making companies, material companies, like wastewater treatment plants. Those engineering is like really involved with that. And it's not only like, coding websites or like coding online applications for computer engineering. They also do like a lot of technical and hardware things. Um, and you'll find that there's so much overlap that like at the end of your degree or the end of your career path, you might be in a place where you don't expect. I can't say that because I'm literally at the start of the journey, but I can kind of see like I can see the vision. You can see the pathway forward. Like once you're in it, you learn that wow, this is completely different from what I thought it was in like a career aspect. But the technical stuff is kind of exactly what I expected. So, yeah.
So it hasn't changed. So far, it hasn't changed
So
far.
far it hasn't changed, but the career opportunities, like yeah,
Nice,
that's changed.
nice. Okay, so now we enter in our next category, career aspirations. So,
Ooh.
in the next few years to come, where do you envision yourself? Is there a specific niche in engineering that you're really drawn to, or have you not figured that out yet? Or is that for like maybe next year? Where do
Mhm.
you see yourself so far?
Um, right now I'm not okay, we have to choose our specializations very soon. Um, at first I was under the impression that I'd do like, I don't know, mechanical or something, but now I'm leaning more towards like chemical or electrical. And hopefully, okay, and I mentioned earlier that I wanted to go into medicine, and a part of me still really wants to work in the medical industry, or at least the biotech like research part. So hopefully in the future I'll be working somewhere, maybe in a lab, or I'm also really interested in like material development. So maybe something like medical material or something working with like I guess like building prosthetics or something in that realm. Because I'm really interested in like chemistry and biology. But for now, I'm not really like completely set on what stream I want. There's still a lot of exploring. And I would encourage listeners to don't be afraid to explore different avenues. A little plug. Today I literally did like a coffee chat with someone in mechanical and then someone in chemical. And their perspectives like were really eye-opening because like as mentioned, there was a lot of like things in career like at the end. Because it's different like when you're in school and then it's different when you're entering the workforce. I would recommend like doing research as to like what the career actually is. But for me, I know I want to hopefully end up working somewhere in a medical field, maybe in a hospital, but that's to change.
So, do you continue working in student leadership, research, and hackathons, or do you think you're gonna go like into a more direct field to what you envision yourself doing? So, in the biochemical field.
hmm I definitely want to continue working in leadership advocacy. Um, I don't wanna give up like, student voice and advocating for things that are really right for a community. I think that's also another reason why I chose engineering because I make such a big impact on the things that I do. And a lot of the things okay, one of like the major things I'm considering is like, accessible design or sustainable designs.
Mhm.
Because, especially like things in like the medical field, there's a lot of things you don't really think about. Like, okay, where does all the waste go when you make pharmaceutical uh like equipment or like medicine? There's a lot of non-technical like related things. Like, oh, what are some things that you can make that will make life easier for other people. And um I want to continue like working in that. I want to, connect with people in the community. Recently I've been reading the news a little bit more.
Mhm.
So I want to, be mindful and like make things that will better for people who need it. I'll be a little sorry, a little vague there, but
No, but
I would love to work in student leadership. Oh, we did like a presidential election for like our student union, and I noticed like all of them were in like political science, um, or yeah, they're like social science humanities, and no, that's great. But also, you don't really see a lot of representation in like politics or government with people working in the STEM field, and honestly, I think we can change that. And like even if I don't go down the medical field, I'd honestly be down to work in like government or policy because a lot of policies don't consider the science. Obviously it's about the people, but there's also like science behind it. And I think that's also what makes our world go round. So
in your opinion, what are the greatest ways for young engineers to get ready for chances in today's ever-evolving job market?
okay, so as a young engineer, if you're looking to go into some sort of post-secondary institution, don't worry about doing technical things. Just do things that interest you because I was really scared, like going into university, like, oh my God, I know nothing about what engineering actually is. Um, and the best way to prepare for yourself is to just try. Um, if you see something that looks incredibly scary and complicated, just do it. For example, hackathons. It's so scary doing a hackathon. You're like, oh my God, I can't hack. I don't know what I can't even run a marathon. How am I supposed to like be coding in a marathon? Just try it. There's a lot of new skills you can learn. And also, like I mentioned, don't forget to like develop your people skills because that is so important. Like you could be the smartest kid in your physics class, but you could also not know how to talk to people. And you really need to learn how to talk to people. I'm not throwing shade to anyone in particular, but I'm just saying like people need to work on their communication skills. Also, like team projects are so like you have so many group projects that you don't expect, and you're like, oh, it's just group projects. It's what you'd expect, right? Um, like being group projects in like engineering, they're so dependent on each other. If one person like doesn't know how to do something, then that's fine. But the thing is like you need to communicate that. If there's like a technical skill you don't know, like, oh, I'm not really good with Python, then speak up about it, like, and there'll be group mates to help you. I think that's a really important thing to develop. Um, and I think that's just my major thing. Like just keep trying and sign up for things that just do it for the plot. Just do it for the
Do
plot.
it for the plot. Do it
That's
for
it.
the plot.
TLDR, do it for the plot.
Okay. Now, our last category. So, advice for aspiring engineer students. So,
Mhm.
what advice would you offer to students who might be afraid of pursuing engineering or might be a little bit intimidated?
Oh my gosh, if you're afraid of like the allegations, like you don't get any sleep and all that, that's so not true. I think if you're afraid of pursuing engineering, you should probably be asking yourself, like, do I really know what engineering is? If not, that's fine. Learn about it. But if you're intimidated by the workload or like if you'll be able to handle the stress, you'll honestly be okay. It's really not that bad. No matter where you go, there's always gonna be people who are like struggling with you. Um, Everyone has the same fear that they won't do well. School's gonna be too stressful. You're not gonna know what to do. But there's always a support system. Don't even worry. If you're worried you might fall behind. There's people who are falling behind with you. We're all in the same boat. Don't feel like you're ever alone if you have any fears or if you have any doubts. And if you're not sure what the career or what you want to do in the future, I'm still trying to figure that out too. But I think the best way is to ask, people who've come before you or um, join things that might be related to that field and learn from there. And if you end up hating it, that's fine. Um, and I think this goes for like basically any career. Just try it. Take a course in it. Do it for fun at first. And if you hate it doing it for fun, then you're definitely not gonna like it going into the field. Um, but not to like plug engineering as in general, but it's engineering is so broad that you can do so much with it. At McMaster, we have like streams like society and management, which is something you can add on to your degree. It's so you can do something like, for example, like mechanical and management. Management it basically means like business. So you can basically do like a quote unquote my like dual degree in engineering and business. So it's very versatile. You can do so much with it. Don't be afraid that you can't switch out. You can always change your mind. Nothing is ever permanent, and career and academics is never like linear.
Okay, nice. All right. So, in STEM field, we've interviewed a fair few people in the STEM field, and they keep saying that imposter syndrome is pretty common among students. Have you ever
Mhm.
felt this issue? And if so, how did you resolve it?
Yes, all the time. Doubt is inevitable, and I have definitely felt imposter syndrome. I think I feel it most when I'm literally sitting in a lecture and the people next to me know what they're doing and I don't know what I'm doing. And also when you're like doing something like sitting in a library and then these people who are in like upper years are like, oh my God, I just passed like thermodynamics with a 94. Like, oh my God, I'm struggling in like a first year course and you're like doing amazing. I don't like deserve to be here. And also like things like LinkedIn, you see people like insanely cracked. They're like, oh my
Yes.
God, like how are you doing this? And why? I'm not even like you're in the same program as me. There's no way.
Yeah.
Um, I think the best way to resolve it, turn your jealousy into inspiration. Use that to push you forward. I think the way to really absorb that is to just like, instead of trying to be like someone else or trying to be like better like someone else, just try and be yourself and reinvent yourself. If you're if you see someone doing something that you know is really cool and you're like, or like, oh, someone won this big award or someone won this like I don't know, they built this huge project, got recognized by whatever. Just talk to them, use them as inspiration instead of being incredibly jealous of them and then like crying in your room. I think that's the best way to do it because if you because imposter syndrome's developed when like you feel like you're incapable of your own skills, but you are always capable. No matter what you think, you're always capable. And if you never got out of your way to try and to maybe learn from the people who you are so inspired by, then you'll never be able to learn. So just don't ever doubt yourself. I know it's pretty like lukewarm,
Yeah.
but like pretty surface level, but that's what's been helping me.
Yep.
That quote, turn
Mhm.
jealousy into inspiration.
Exactly. Okay, lastly, what practical efforts can high school students make to boost their applications and put themselves up for success in the engineering programs?
That's an interesting question because um I think I don't really know what the schools look for. It's so skewed because you heard things like, oh, grade inflation, and then you see people like, oh, you gotta like cure cancer and what and have like a 99. Like that's so silly. Um, I think the best way is to stop thinking and stop trying to do what you think they want and just instead just try to sell yourself. Because I think the biggest issue people is if you're just so absorbed in school, or you're not really involved in the community at all, then like don't make studying your own personality and don't try and just emphasize that. Like show that you have passion for the thing you want to do. Um, and like use your previous experience to back you up instead of like trying to sound fake and be like, oh yeah, I did this and I'm just so good at it. Instead of like saying I'm just so good at it, show why you care about it. And I think that's what really like sets you apart in your applications. Um, and I think, well, this is unrelated to engineering, but when I was like applying to like U of T for commerce,
Mhm.
I talked about like being really passionate about art and activism. It was just like so unrelated to business, but they like ate that up. So, just sell yourself like you really care about what you want to learn in that school instead of trying to sell yourself as like, I don't know, like a study master, because they have a million people who are just like you if you do that.
Yeah. Okay, well, that marks the end of our episode today. Alice, thank you so much for sharing your insights and experiences with us. It was really inspiring to hear about your journey in engineering and your dedication to making a positive impact in your field, especially in the social advocacy part. We wish you the best as you continue your studies and leadership roles. And
Oh,
our audience, thank you so much for tuning in. We hope you found today's conversation helpful and motivating, and we'll see you next time.
thank you so much for having me.